Reserve list sales are up. Are we headed toward another buyout soon? Let's take a look at some of those card prices and see what we're talking about. Hi everyone and welcome back. MTG Moxman here. If you're new to my channel, you've just found me in this nacho cheese universe of YouTube. Well, thanks a lot for checking out my content today. Hope you guys had a blast while you were here. And of course, if you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me get closer to 8,000 subscribers. Looking forward to it. Now, let's get on to a serious topic. I got the blue shirt on. The dress shirt's on. It's in the thumbnail. You're prepared for this. You guys know it's something serious when I got the dress shirt on. It's either that or I just got off work and had to race home to put a video together. You guys can decide that in the comment section. You know, reserve list sales, they're up. As much as people maybe try to hum and haw around it, the whales are being quiet about it, and people don't want to talk about it, the sales are up. There's some reserve list cards that are going slower, but overall, sales are up because the prices are down. When reserve list prices are this low, there are those people who will be taking advantage. And when they take advantage, let's face it, in the long run, in my opinion only, because, I didn't graduate Magic University, you're talking to a guy the professor does not acknowledge, and I sit, in the corner eating nachos and cheese. Generally, you do pretty good if you buy at a low price and hold things for a long time. The longer you hold a card, the more rewards you get. But at the same time, these cards could be reprinted, the reserve list could be broken, the sky is falling, and the world's coming to an end. You got to take things for what they're worth, what you think they're worth, and will this blue marble keep spinning the next day? So let's go ahead, look at some amazing reserve list cards and check out which ones are selling faster than others and what those reasons and causes might be. Let's get to it. So the first card we're going to check out today is going to be Soldevi Excavations. It's been a while since we've stopped in and looked at this card. Now at $35 Canadian for a near mint copy, that's if you can find one, and you actually take a look at what near mint possibly means. It doesn't mean the same to everyone apparently, because I've noticed a little more variation from some of the stores and some of the online people, so keep that in mind. Be critical. If it's a near mint, it should be pretty much flawless, other than maybe centering and stuff. Now, the average price here is $26.48 US. The market price is $27.05 US. It's €18.55 to get this card. But as was proven with the first buyout, when the near mint cards left the market, what was left was like the lightly played, moderately played, heavily played, however you want to put it, more rough copies. And the more I'm seeing things out there in the reserve list, the more I'm noticing that the copies available are actually not near mint. They're basically light played, but companies and stores are calling them near mint. When you can take a look at a near mint copy and go, there's nothing wrong with my card. It's basically flawless. Just keep that in mind. It's just a critical junction point I've been noticing a little more often than not. I don't like it. When I see the price here, it's been as high as $40 US, which was around the $50 Canadian mark, and that was kind of my cutoff, but then the price fell, which allowed me to keep buying the card, which I enjoy. When I look at this and see now, it just keeps kind of trailing down. It did get restocked. That was predicted to happen. But again, the restock was stores scraping the barrel basement trying to find cards, and it's left us with more beat up copies. The good ones are gone. Those who want this card are now getting the secondary slice. The day-old pizza, as it were. I mean, day-old nachos and cheese. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know. I like the card still. Its formats are going to be Commander, Legacy, Vintage. I've never had my Soldevi blown up yet in a game of Commander. And that doesn't mean when I play one of you people that I expect you to blow up my Soldevi just to say you're the first ones to do it. I'm just saying it's not usually a target, and it does let me look at cards which I enjoy in any format. So it's just one of those things. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next card today, and that is going to be Lodestone Bobble, another buyout card. I'm putting a few of these up here purposely because we haven't visited them in a while. These are cards we have neglected. We got to take a look and make sure they're okay. Now, this card had that big poof up. It went like boom because of what was going on in the cards it can be played with. It's a zero casting cost artifact. It's from Alliances, and it's on the reserve list. Need I say more? $15 Canadian for that near mint copy. You can see the average price is $12.83 US. The market is $12.83. That's kind of a twin thing, which is unusual. And then it's €6.13 to get to that card. It's just starting to dip down now. when we did the buyout, we really didn't affect the price that much here on the channel. There were some copies bought, and it maybe went up like 50, 60 cents, a buck. But I'm looking now, and you can see it's jumped up, it's coming down. I wonder how it'll settle. And when we're thinking about cards like this, you have to realize it can be played a lot. Who isn't going to put this in a commander deck if they've got some basic lands? If they're going to be nuking lands for any reason, this is a great card to keep around, or just to keep yourself alive later on. If you want something that can put some cards back on top of your library and you make sure some extra basics you can toss out later, it's a good card to keep around. It's all round. It's a playable card. A lot of people neglect to appreciate it sometimes, but it's one of those cards people have to pay attention to. And the sales on this card are steady. Where Soldevi sales have really slowed down, this card is still selling copies basically every day, a couple times a week, where it's like 1 or 2 copies here and there disappearing, and it's people slowly siphoning out the market. But it is being restocked, so that equilibrium we're finding with buyers and sellers is still being maintained at this point, which is causing the price to kind of stay steady and slowly drive back down, which is great for everyone who wants to get a copy of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next card, and that's City of Shadows. This is the one we've mentioned a few times, and I'm bringing it up again because the copies available are not near mint. They're getting more beat up, more rough, and we knew that because the City of Shadows print run, although it's large at 65 million, it's not really that big compared to nowadays cards. We weren't playing with sleeves back then, and finding near mint copies is getting pretty gosh darn hard. And then, of course, you look at it and say, yeah, how many people are opening up the dark anymore? Those dark packs are going to start going up. It's going to happen. But the sales on this card are staying exceedingly high. If you can find a near mint copy in Canada, it's around $225 Canadian, plus tax, plus import, because I couldn't find any locally. The average price is $209.99 US. The market price is $165.98 US, and it's €102.34 to get to that card. Formats being Commander, Legacy, Vintage. Hey, old school can play this card, but it's that sales are high that has got me wondering what's going on. It is selling regularly. It is more beat up copies selling. It looks like people are trying to drive this card into the market and get that price to go even higher. Now, I originally said I would stop buying this card at $250, and we are getting pretty close to that point. It's very interesting to watch this card after somebody the Taco King, Alpha Investments, Rudy mentions this card. The sales have been kind of spiking up a little bit in the last while because the dark was getting a lot of attention. That you look at this and realize that we are in for something here. This is going to be a permanent thing. This card, I think, will have a sticking point. I think it will hang around longer, or if it does drift down because people just bought it to flip it, then it's going to hit the ground hard. I think it'll stay up. But if it doesn't, it'll hit hard. It'll come down pretty quick because people can't hold on to a card that's that expensive for a long period of time. Just something to keep in mind. Now, our next card is going to be Talaran Academy. That's right. I love this card. I've enjoyed playing with it for a long time. That format only being vintage, that it's legal in, other than kitchen table and maybe some formats that people don't like to mention anymore. Like, who cares what they say? Just play it in Commander. I think it should be unbanned in Commander. You guys all know I'm thinking it. But it's a great Urza Saga card. The sales on this thing are still steady. It's still selling all the time, and it is the near mint copies leaving the market. People are willing to spend $20 more to get a near mint. They want it to be perfect, because if it ever becomes unbanned, boomstick, baby. All right, we have an average price of $140 US. The market price is $159.26 US, and it's €110.82 to get to that card. Now, it's funny that during the 2021 buyouts, it reached as high as like $300. And it's been drifting down ever since. It's kind of petering out now. It's kind of hit that basement. But I wonder if it'll drip a little bit lower over the next several months. I know a lot of people on the channel have picked up a copy or two when they were getting them for like $110, $120. And I'm just curious to see how far it'll go for those light played near mint and then going down to moderately played. You're going to get a moderately played now for like, what, $120, $130 US? Very, very curious, guys. All right, so let's remember this card, because the day may come where this baby's unbanned. I'll just keep championing the cause and see what happens. All right, Storm World. I've mentioned this card numerous times on the channel. This is from Legends, guys. Single casting cost Enchant World. I like this kind of thing. Now, $110 Canadian for a light played card from Legends from back in the day. Whew, and it's reserve list. The average price is $109.25 US. The market price is $113.68 US. And the funny thing is, look at the euro, 129 euro and 88 cents to get that card, because I guess legends are a little more difficult to get across the pond. When I look at this and see the cards dipping down, I think this card's actually going to fall further. I'm not saying you should buy it now. The sales are really slow. It's selling one copy a month roughly, so it's really petered down from where I've seen it in the past. And that just says good things to those who might want to get a copy or might want to spend a few bucks, because moderately played in those will drip faster to a lower price point, and the near mints will kind of slowly tick down a little bit. I'm just curious to see how far this card will drop. I myself don't own a copy of this card. I thought I did. I think I have an Italian one, but I'd like to get an English one. So this is a card I personally am keeping an eye on, because I'd like to get one to have for a commander deck, just to say I've got one, or if I ever keep working toward completing a Legends set. Just something I've kept my eye on. I want to make people aware of it in case it's a card you're interested in. Remember, non-financial advice, purely entertainment channel only. Now, our next card, this is Angus McKenzie, okay? Legends card, rare. Now, he's been one of those cards that has spiked up massively and has had a hard time falling back down to earth, and that's because the lack of supply. There is not a lot of this particular card out there in English. If you look at the Italian copy there I put up, it's $240 Canadian for an Italian light played. That's a pretty good price. When I see it's 460 Canadian for a moderately played, the Italian cards really start drawing people's attentions and say, do I really care enough to get English? Or should I save more than half the money and go get myself an Italian copy? And that is a question we will see asked more and more of the player base as they decide to get some of these older school cards. They want real, but they will probably dive into the Italians. Now, the average price here is $439.99 US. The market is $520.94 US, and it's €381.50 to get that card. It is a slow sale card, but there's not a lot of stock, and the price is high. We're talking 5, 6, 12, 15 cards in English. That is not a lot to draw upon, and it shows what happens when a market dries up. Now, it's great that he stops combat damage and all that. He's kind of a cool card. He's kind of funky. I always enjoyed playing him as a teenager. But I look at this and go, formats, Commander, Legacy, Vintage, Old School. He's got some playability. He doesn't cost a lot to get out. And he's one of those cards people seem to desire. So keep an eye on this. If you have one, probably a good time to make some cash if you can get a good price for it. If you're one of the people looking for one, maybe an Italian is the way to go. You'll have to decide that for yourselves. Or, save up double the amount of money to work yourself toward an English copy. This is one of those brutal cards that people just don't recognize sometimes. Now here's a card I don't mention very often. This is Balm of Restoration from Fallen Empires. $2 Canadian for a near mint copy. The average price is $1.27. The market is $1.28. And it's €2.03 to get you that card. Now it's been as high as $4 during the major buyouts of late 2020, early 2021. And it's crashed down since then. But the formats are Commander, Legacy, Vintage, and Old School. I want you to think about that. It doesn't look like the most playable card, but the fact it prevents damage can throw off any deck when used correctly. Somebody's going to nuke your creature for 3. Somebody's going to burn it out for 3. Somebody's got a card that's going to deal damage equal to the creature's power, but you manage to prevent a couple of those damage and make it playable. And it's an artifact that can go into any deck, and there are ways of copying it, bringing it back. It's one of those cards you should be paying attention to because it has had insanely high sales. I missed this card when I was doing my top 10 video. It's not a card I follow all the time, but after looking at this and following the sales, somebody's been buying a lot of copies, and there are multiple people buying copies across multiple formats. It isn't a full buyout yet, but it's sold a couple of hundred copies in the last month alone. It's a card to keep an eye on, because somebody has their eyes on it. So although some of these cards may be a little bit slow, here, let me turn this off. So when you see a card like the Balm of Restoration selling tons of copies every single day, because it's a low-end reserve list card people can afford, drives sales, tons of sales. But when people tell you, the reserve list isn't selling well, only the old junk is selling, that's because the other reserve list cards, like McKenzie, like Talaran, they all cost more money. They take longer to save up for. It takes effort to save up hundreds of dollars to buy a card from an average person just putting a few bucks aside every paycheck to get a card they want. That doesn't mean the sales aren't there. It means things are drying up. It's getting low out there. The tide didn't come back in, and a whole new world didn't flush full of reserve list cards drying up on the beach. Yeah, it's definitely looking that way. Don't worry, we'll be taking a look at some more sales this week of some other reserve list cards and how the sales are looking. So I'm looking forward to talking to everybody about this topic in a continuous fashion this week, because there's a lot to cover and I can't do it in a single video. I don't want to drag these videos out too long. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have an awesome day today, and thanks for tuning in. And of course, a big shout out goes out to each and every single patron on this channel for helping make this channel happen. If it wasn't for the patrons, nothing would get done. Thanks again for that continued support. I'll see you guys soon. So here we are at the end. Congratulations, we've made it. I'm going off topic today. This is not Magic related. I just felt the need to say it. And that is, I'm dieting and I'm getting grumpy. I miss things. I made homemade brownies. I couldn't eat one. Drove me insane. I know they say, oh, treat yourself. No, I can't right now. Not till I get the initial weight down. Killing me. Anyway, I thought I would just share it with you guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys have an awesome day. And shop smart. Shop S-Smart.